Ambassador Kethvar stood in the great hall of the Deathworld Council. His crystal body reflected the harsh lights from above. Around him sat the toughest beings in the galaxy. Each one came from a world that could kill most life forms in minutes. The Karashi delegation wore their battle armor even here. Their home world had gravity so strong it could crush bones. The Threnodi breathed methane and lived in temperatures that would freeze water solid. The Vokhtar had skin like metal because their planet rained acid every day. These were the survivors, the ones who lived where others died. "We must discuss the human question," Kethvar said. His voice rang like breaking glass. Commander Vexthul of the Karashi shifted in his heavy armor. "The humans? They live on that water world. Earth has storms and some large animals. It is hardly a death world." "That is what we thought," Kethvar replied, "until we studied them more closely." He waved his hand. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed images from Earth. There were humans climbing tall mountains covered in snow. Others were swimming in waters filled with creatures that had many teeth. Some were jumping from high places with only cloth to slow their fall. "They do this for fun," Kethvar said. The room went quiet. Even the Threnodi stopped their constant hissing. "Fun?" asked Elder Zixra of the Acid World Melody. "They risk death for enjoyment?" "Yes, they call it extreme sports. We found records of humans going to the most dangerous places on their world just to see if they could survive." More images appeared. Humans were walking on hot lava. Others were deep underwater without breathing gear. Some were in frozen wastelands wearing thin clothes. "This cannot be real," Commander Vexthul said. "No species seeks danger without reason." "We thought the same thing," Kethvar continued. "So we sent scouts to watch them. What we found changed everything." The hologram showed a human city during what the files called a natural disaster. A great windstorm was destroying buildings. Most species would have hidden underground, but the humans were outside. They were helping each other. They were saving their young and old. They ran toward danger to help others. "The storm lasted 3 days," Kethvar said. "By the end, they had saved everyone. Then they started rebuilding. They were singing while they worked." The council members looked at each other. This was not normal behavior for any species they knew. "There is more," Kethvar said. "We found something called the Australian continent." The word meant nothing to most of them. But when the images appeared, several council members made sounds of fear. Australia was filled with creatures that could kill. Spiders whose bite could stop a heart. Snakes with poison that melted blood. Fish that shocked. Plants that burned skin. Even the trees tried to hurt anything that touched them. "Humans live there by choice," Kethvar said. "Millions of them. They raise families there. They call it a good place for a holiday." Elder Zixra leaned forward. Her acid-proof skin glowed with interest. "Perhaps these humans are stronger than we thought." "That is why I propose we invite them here," Kethvar said. "To Zarion Prime. To our summit." The room exploded with noise. Every species started talking at once. Some were angry. Others were afraid. A few seemed excited. Commander Vexthul stood up. His armor made him look even bigger. "Invite them here? To the most dangerous world in our space? They will die in the first hour." "Will they?" Kethvar asked. "We have invited them to lesser worlds before. Worlds we thought would test them. They always surprised us." "This is different," the commander said. "Zarion Prime is not a test. It is death. The air burns lungs. The gravity crushes bones. The ground shakes every few minutes. Even we need protection to survive here." "Yes," Kethvar said. "That is exactly why we should invite them." He turned to face the full council. For too long we have decided who is strong and who is weak. We have made rules about death worlds without asking everyone. Maybe it is time to learn from a species that treats their homeworld like we treat a safe harbor. The debate went on for hours. Some council members said it was too dangerous. Others said it was stupid. A few said it might be interesting. In the end, they voted. The humans would be invited. They will need full environment suits, Commander Vexthul said, and they must stay in the safe zones. We cannot be responsible for their deaths. Of course, Kethvar agreed. We will send them all the safety equipment they need. 3 weeks later, the message was sent to Earth. The Galactic Deathworld Council invited human representatives to their annual summit on Zerion Prime. The message included warnings about the extreme conditions. It listed all the dangers. It explained what safety gear they would need. Dr. Sarah Chen read the invitation in her office. She was Earth's top expert on extreme environments. She had lived in the deep ocean, on high mountains, and in hot deserts. The invitation made her smile. Zerion Prime, she said to herself. Sounds like fun. She called her team together. They were excited, too. Dr. James Park had studied in Antarctica for 5 years. Dr. Maya Singh had lived in the Amazon jungle for 3 months. Captain Tom Wilson had been a rescue pilot in hurricane zones. When do we leave? Dr. Park asked. Next month, Dr. Chen said. We should pack light. It sounds like it might be warm there. They started planning their trip. They read about Zerion Prime's conditions. The gravity was 3 times Earth normal. The air had poison gas. The storms could tear apart buildings. Earthquakes happened every few hours. The local animals were all predators. Dr. Singh looked up from her notes. This reminds me of that camping trip we took in Colorado last year. The one where we got caught in the avalanche? Dr. Park asked. That's the one. Good times. Captain Wilson was checking the weather reports from Zerion Prime. Looks like it might rain while we're there. We should bring raincoats. Dr. Chen finished her preparations. She was looking forward to meeting the other species. She had always wondered what beings from truly dangerous worlds would be like. She had no idea that the Galactic Deathworld Council was making the same preparations they would make for a funeral. The landing pad on Zerion Prime shook as another earthquake hit. Commander Vexthul checked his armor's seals for the 10th time. Even with full protection, being on this world made him nervous. Around him, other council members waited in their heavy suits and life support systems. The Threnody delegation looked like walking tanks. Their suits were built to handle the toxic air and crushing gravity. The Melody wore acid-resistant shells that covered their entire bodies. Even Ambassador Kethvar had special shields around his crystal form. The human ship is approaching, announced the landing control officer. Her voice came through multiple filters to remove the poison from the air. Commander Vexthul watched the sky. A small ship was coming down through the yellow clouds. It looked normal. Nothing special about it. He wondered if the humans were already dead inside from the journey through Zerion Prime's atmosphere. I still say this is a mistake, he told Kethvar. We should have met them on a safer world. We will learn much today, Kethvar replied. One way or another. The ship landed with a soft thud. Steam rose from its hull as the toxic rain hit the metal. For several minutes, nothing happened. The welcoming committee waited. Maybe they are putting on their environment suits, suggested Elder Zixra. It must take time to prepare for this environment. Finally, the ship's door opened. Commander Vexthul expected to see humans in thick armor like his own. He expected heavy breathing gear and protective shields. Instead, a woman stepped out wearing what looked like light clothing. She had on a thin jacket, regular pants, and soft shoes. No helmet, no breathing mask, no radiation shield. She was breathing the toxic air directly into her lungs. That's impossible, Commander Vexthul said. The woman stretched her arms above her head and twisted her back. She made a sound that might have been pleasure. Behind her, more humans came out of the ship. All of them were dressed in the same light clothes. One of them was wiping sweat from his forehead. "Is it getting warm? Or is that just me?" the man said. "It's the gravity, Tom," the woman replied. 3 times Earth normal. Great workout, though." Commander Vex Thul's mouth fell open inside his helmet. They were talking about the crushing gravity like it was exercise equipment. More humans came out. Some of them were small, children. Commander Vex Thul realized with horror that the humans had brought their young to one of the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy. One of the children, a small female, looked up at the yellow sky. Toxic rain was starting to fall. Instead of running for cover, she held out her hands to catch the drops. "Mom, the rain feels tingly," she called out. "That's the sulfuric acid, honey," her mother replied. "Try not to drink it." The child nodded and kept playing in the rain that would dissolve most organic matter in minutes. Dr. Sarah Chen, the leader of the human group, walked toward the welcoming committee. She moved easily in the heavy gravity. Her breathing was normal. She looked around at the alien landscape and smiled. "Dr. Chen?" Ambassador Kethvar managed to ask. His voice translator was having trouble with his shock. "That's me," she said, reaching out to shake his crystal hand. "Thanks for inviting us. This place is beautiful." Beautiful. She called Zerion Prime beautiful. Commander Vex Thul looked around at the barren landscape, the toxic clouds, and the pools of acid. Beautiful was not a word he would use. Are you not wearing any protection?" Elder Zixra asked. Dr. Chen looked down at her clothes. "Oh, we brought rain jackets if the weather gets bad, and sunscreen. The radiation readings looked a bit high." "A bit high?" Commander Vex Thul repeated. "The radiation would kill most species in an hour." "Really?" Dr. Chen looked interested. "We vacation in places with higher radiation than this. There's this great spot in Brazil where the beaches naturally glow. Very relaxing." Another earthquake hit. The ground shook hard enough to make the welcoming committee grab onto their support railings. The humans rode the shaking like they were on a boat. One of the children laughed and called it fun. Dr. James Park, one of the human scientists, was looking around with obvious pleasure. "This reminds me of that camping trip we took in Colorado," he told Dr. Chen. "The one where we got caught in the avalanche and had to dig ourselves out?" she asked. "That's the one. Great times, though this has better weather." Better weather. Commander Vex Thul looked up at the storm clouds full of acid rain and lightning that could melt metal. Better weather. Captain Tom Wilson was checking some kind of small device. "Air quality is actually pretty good here," he announced. "Better than downtown Los Angeles on a bad day." The device in his hands was not a life support system. It was not a radiation detector. It looked like something humans use to check the weather. "How are you breathing?" Elder Zixra asked. "The atmosphere is toxic." "Oh, this?" Captain Wilson took a deep breath. "It's a bit spicy, but not too bad. Reminds me of that summer I spent working near an active volcano. You get used to it." Dr. Maya Singh was walking around the landing pad. She picked up a rock that was glowing with radiation. "Pretty," she said, putting it in her pocket. "Don't touch that," Commander Vex Thul shouted. "It's radioactive." "I know," Dr. Singh said. "I collect interesting rocks. My daughter will love this one." She was planning to give radioactive material to a child as a gift. The small human female who had been playing in the acid rain ran up to her parents. "Can we go swimming later?" she asked. "I saw some really cool pools over there." Commander Vex Thul looked where she was pointing. Those were lakes of concentrated acid that could dissolve a Karashi warrior in seconds. "Maybe after lunch, Emma," her mother said. "Let's see what the local wildlife is like first." local wildlife. The creatures on Zerion Prime were all predators that could kill anything they caught. The humans wanted to meet them. Dr. Chen noticed the stunned silence from the welcoming committee. "Is something wrong?" she asked. "Did we dress wrong for the climate?" Ambassador Kethvar found his voice. "No, Dr. Chen, you are perfectly dressed. We are just surprised that you seem so comfortable." "Comfortable?" Dr. Chen looked around again. "This is great. It reminds me of camping, but with better weather and interesting geology. The gravity is giving me a great workout, and that sulfur smell in the air is very refreshing." "Refreshing," Commander Vexthul repeated weakly. "Oh, yes. Very good for the sinuses. Like natural aromatherapy." Another earthquake hit. This one was stronger. The ground cracked near their feet. Toxic steam rose from the new openings. The human children cheered like they were watching fireworks. "Excellent seismic activity," Dr. Park noted. "Very educational for the kids." Commander Vexthul realized that everything he thought he knew about survival was wrong. These humans were treating the most dangerous world in council space like a pleasant vacation spot, and they seemed to be having a wonderful time. The conference dome was the safest place on Zerion Prime. Built from the strongest materials in the galaxy, it could survive direct hits from lightning, acid storms, and even small earthquakes. Inside, the air was filtered, and the gravity was reduced to normal levels for most species. Commander Vexthul felt better once he was inside. His armor systems could finally relax. Around the great table, other council members took their places. The Threnodi removed their outer shells. The Melody opened their acid suits. Everyone could breathe easier here. Everyone except the humans. Dr. Chen and her team sat at their assigned seats like they had been relaxing the whole time. They had not changed clothes. They had not put on any protection. Dr. Park was even drinking something hot from a small cup. "Is that coffee?" Ambassador Kethvar asked. "Yes," Dr. Park replied. "Would you like some? We brought extra." Coffee. They had brought coffee to the most dangerous world in council space, like they were at a business meeting. "Welcome, honored delegates," Elder Zixra began the formal ceremony. "We gather here on Zerion Prime to discuss the future of Deathworld colonization and survival protocols." The humans were taking notes with simple writing tools, not recording devices, not computer systems, just paper and pens like they were students in a classroom. "Our first topic," Elder Zixra continued, "is the standardization of safety equipment for Class 5 Deathworlds." She had barely started speaking when the warning alarms went off. Red lights flashed everywhere. A recorded voice filled the dome. "Seismic event detected. All personnel moved to emergency positions." Every species in the room moved fast. The Karashi activated magnetic locks on their armor. The Threnodi sealed themselves in protective shells. The Melody formed a defensive circle. Ambassador Kethvar created a shield around himself. The humans looked up from their notes with mild interest. The earthquake hit like a giant hammer. The entire dome shook back and forth. Emergency systems engaged. Support beams groaned under the stress. The filtered air filled with dust and debris. Commander Vexthul was pressed against his emergency restraints. Through the chaos, he saw something impossible. Dr. Chen was still sitting in her chair. She was holding her coffee cup steady with one hand and continuing to write with the other. The earthquake lasted 30 seconds. When it ended, every species except the humans looked shaken. Some were checking for injuries. Others were testing their equipment. "That was a good one," Dr. Park said to Dr. Singh. "I'd say about magnitude 7. "Maybe 7.2, she replied. "Did you feel the P waves before the main shock?" They were discussing the earthquake like scientists studying an interesting event, which, Commander Vexthul realized, they probably were. "Are you not concerned?" Elder Zixra asked. She was still recovering from the shaking. About what? Dr. Chen asked. The earthquake. The danger. We could have been killed. Dr. Chen looked confused. From that little shake? We get worse than that in California all the time. My coffee didn't even spill. Little shake. Commander Vex Thul checked his readings. The earthquake had been strong enough to destroy most buildings. The humans called it a little shake. The meeting continued. The council discussed safety protocols for different types of death worlds. They talked about survival equipment and emergency procedures. The humans listened politely and took notes. When the first break was announced, every species stayed inside the dome. This was the safe time to rest and check equipment. The break was meant to let everyone recover from the stress of being on Zarion Prime. The humans stood up and stretched. I think I'll go for a walk, Dr. Park announced. Good idea, Dr. Chen agreed. I want to look at those crystal formations we saw on the way in. They were going outside, during the break, for fun. You cannot go out there, Commander Vex Thul said. It is not safe during the break. That is when the wildlife is most active. Really? Dr. Singh looked excited. What kind of wildlife? Commander Vex Thul realized he had made a mistake. Telling humans about dangerous wildlife was like telling children about candy. Predators, he said weakly. Very large predators. Cool, said Captain Wilson. Anyone bring a camera? They left the dome like they were going for a picnic. Commander Vex Thul and several other council members watched through the dome's windows. The humans walked across the toxic landscape like they were in a park. Dr. Chen stopped to pick up glowing rocks that were covered in radiation. Dr. Singh was collecting samples of the acid rain in small containers. Captain Wilson was taking pictures of everything. Dr. Park found one of the crystal formations. These were naturally occurring structures that grew from radioactive minerals in the ground. The radiation around them was so strong, it could kill most life forms in minutes. Dr. Park walked right up to one and started examining it closely. Beautiful structure, he said to Dr. Singh. The crystal lattice is fascinating. A sound made them all look up. Something large was moving toward them through the toxic fog. Commander Vex Thul felt his armor systems go to full alert. It was a Zarion Deathstalker, 3 meters tall with claws that could cut through metal and teeth that dripped acid. It was one of the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. The sight of one made experienced warriors run for cover. The humans looked at it with interest. Magnificent, Dr. Chen said. Look at the adaptation to the toxic environment. The Deathstalker moved closer. Its eyes glowed red with hunger. It had found prey. Captain Wilson raised his camera. This is going to make a great photo. The Deathstalker paused. It seemed confused. Prey was supposed to run, or fight, or at least show fear. These strange beings were just standing there looking at it. Dr. Singh slowly reached into her pack and pulled out something. Commander Vex Thul thought it might be a weapon. Instead, it was food. Here you go, big guy, she said, holding out what looked like a sandwich. You must be hungry. The Deathstalker sniffed the offering. Its expression changed from hunting mode to confusion. It had never been offered food by potential prey before. It took the sandwich carefully with one claw and ate it. Then it sat down like a large dog waiting for more treats. They're actually quite friendly, Dr. Park observed. Just misunderstood. Commander Vex Thul felt something break inside his mind. The most feared predator on Zarion Prime was now sitting peacefully while humans pet its head. When the humans came back inside for the next session, they were carrying more glowing rocks and had acid rain samples. Dr. Chen's notebook was full of observations about the local ecosystem. Captain Wilson's camera was full of pictures that would give most species nightmares. How was your walk? Ambassador Kethvar asked weakly. Great exercise, Dr. Chen replied. The wildlife here is wonderful, very social. We made a new friend. Through the dome's windows, they could see the Deathstalker still sitting where they had left it. It appeared to be waiting for them to come back. Elder Zixra called for the next session to begin, but she was looking at the humans with a new expression. Not the polite respect she had shown before, something closer to awe or terror. Commander Vexthul was beginning to understand what Ambassador Kethvar had meant. These were not normal beings. These were creatures who treated his worst nightmare like a pleasant afternoon in the park. And the summit was just getting started. The afternoon session was not going well. For 3 hours, the Galactic Deathworld Council had been trying to solve the same old problems: how to build safe colonies on dangerous worlds, how to protect settlers from toxic environments, how to survive where normal life could not exist. Elder Zixra looked tired. "We have discussed this for years," she said. "Class 5 death worlds remain impossible to colonize. The costs are too high. The risks are too great." Commander Vexthul nodded his heavy head. "Our best experts say it cannot be done. We can visit these worlds for short times, but living there permanently? Impossible." Around the table, other council members agreed. The Threnodi hissed their frustration. The melody leaked acid in disappointment. Even Ambassador Kethvar's crystal body looked dim. They had spent decades working on these problems. They had tried every solution their best scientists could think of. Nothing worked. Dr. Chen raised her hand. "May I make a suggestion?" The council looked at her with surprise. The humans had been quiet during the technical discussions. They had taken notes and asked questions, but they had not offered any ideas. "Please," Elder Zixra said, "we welcome any thoughts." "Well," Dr. Chen said, "it sounds like you're overthinking this. When we want to live somewhere dangerous, we just adapt." "Adapt how?" Commander Vexthul asked. "Take the temperature problem," Dr. Chen explained. "You're talking about building huge cooling systems for hot worlds and heating systems for cold worlds. But why not just set up base camp near the volcanic vents?" The room went silent. "Near the volcanic vents?" Elder Zixra repeated slowly. "Sure. Natural heating, free energy. We do it all the time when camping. Find the best natural features and use them." Dr. Park nodded. "Like when we were studying in Antarctica. We set up our research station right next to the geothermal pools. Kept us warm for 3 months. Commander Vexthul felt his armor systems alert him to stress. "You lived next to volcanic activity for 3 months?" "Oh, yes. Great natural hot tubs, too. Very relaxing after a day of research." Elder Zixra made a note with shaking hands. Living next to volcanic vents for relaxation. She was not sure her translation system was working correctly. "What about predators?" asked a Threnodi delegate. "Class 5 worlds have creatures that kill everything they see." Dr. Singh looked up from her notes. "Oh, that's easy. Just make friends with them." "Make friends with predators?" "Sure. We did it today with that big fellow outside. Most predators are just protecting their territory or looking for food. Share your food, respect their space, and they usually leave you alone." Captain Wilson pulled out his camera and showed them pictures. There were images of humans sharing meals with creatures that the council classified as extinction-level threats. "This one reminded me of my dog back home," he said, pointing to a picture of himself petting a beast with claws like swords. "Very friendly once you get to know him." Ambassador Kethvar leaned forward. His crystal body was glowing brighter with interest. "You treat deadly predators like pets?" "Not pets," Dr. Chen corrected. "Neighbors. When you're camping in bear country, you learn to coexist. Same principle." Bear country. Commander Vexthul made a note to research what bears were and why humans would voluntarily go to a country full of them. "What about toxic atmospheres?" Elder Zixra asked. "The air on Class 5 worlds can dissolve lungs." "Gradual exposure," Dr. Park said. "Start small, build tolerance. I spent 6 months adapting to the air around sulfur springs. Your body gets used to it. Also, Dr. Singh added, some of those toxic compounds are actually quite useful. Those spore clouds everyone is so worried about, they make excellent seasoning once you build up resistance. Seasoning. They wanted to use deadly toxins as food flavoring. The council members were looking at each other with growing alarm. These humans were suggesting solutions that sounded like elaborate suicide methods. Perhaps, Commander Vexthul said carefully, you could show us some examples of your colonization techniques? Oh, we brought plenty of examples, Dr. Chen said. Emma, sweetie, could you show them your sand castle? Everyone looked around. The small human female was sitting in the corner of the dome. She had somehow gathered a pile of the glowing sand from outside and was building a small structure with it. It's not a sand castle, Emma said without looking up. It's a city. Elder Zixra moved closer to look. What she saw made her acid-proof skin go cold. Emma had built a perfect model of a colony city. There were living areas connected to water sources, power systems that used natural geothermal energy, transport routes that followed the safest paths through dangerous terrain. But what made Elder Zixra's heart stop was the way Emma had solved the atmospheric problem. See, Emma explained, pointing to different parts of her model. You put the air cleaners here where the wind patterns are best, and you use these plants to help filter the toxins. What plants? Elder Zixra asked. The purple ones that grow near the acid pools. They eat the bad chemicals and make the air cleaner. Elder Zixra checked her readings. Emma was right. The purple vegetation did filter atmospheric toxins, but it was also highly radioactive and supposedly impossible to cultivate. How do you know this? Elder Zixra asked. Emma shrugged. I planted some in my rock garden back home. They're easy to grow if you give them enough acid rain. A 12-year-old human child was casually growing plants that the council's best scientists said were impossible to cultivate, and she was doing it in her backyard. Dr. Chen noticed the stunned expressions around the table. Is something wrong? Your child, Ambassador Kethvar said slowly, has just solved a terraforming problem that has challenged our best minds for 50 years. Really? Dr. Chen looked at Emma's sand city. That's nice, sweetheart. Very creative. Can I go play outside again? Emma asked. I want to collect more of the pretty rocks. After the meeting, honey. Emma went back to improving her colony design. She was now adding what looked like recreational areas and parks. On a world that could kill most species in minutes, she was planning playgrounds. Commander Vexthul found his voice. How long did it take your scientists to develop these techniques? What scientists? Dr. Park asked. This is just basic camping and survival skills. We learn this as children. Children? Sure. Scouts, nature camps, family camping trips. Every human knows this stuff. Every human. Commander Vexthul realized that what the Council considered impossible problems, humans taught to their young as basic life skills. Do you have any other suggestions? Elder Zixra asked weakly. Well, Captain Wilson said, there's the water situation. You're talking about shipping water to Deathworlds, but why not just use local sources? Because local water sources on Class 5 worlds are usually acid or poison, a Melody delegate pointed out. So, filtration is easy. Boiling, distillation, basic chemistry. We've been doing it for thousands of years. What about radiation? Asked Commander Vexthul. Shielding, rotation schedules, protective foods. Again, basic stuff. My grandmother lived through 3 reactor accidents and she's still going strong at 95. Grandmother. A human family member who had survived multiple nuclear disasters and was still alive. Dr. Chen checked her notes. Actually, most of your classified death worlds sound like great places for vacation resorts. Vacation resorts? Elder Zixra's voice was barely a whisper. Oh yes, adventure tourism is huge back home. People pay good money to experience dangerous environments, controlled risk, beautiful scenery, unique activities. These worlds could make a fortune. The council sat in stunned silence. They had been thinking about survival. The humans were thinking about tourism. Emma looked up from her sand city. Dad, can we come back here for our next family vacation? This place is really cool. Dr. Chen smiled. We'll see, sweetheart. Maybe next summer. Next summer. They were already planning to return to the most dangerous world in council space. For fun. Commander Vexithul realized that everything the council thought they knew about Deathworlds was wrong. They weren't places to barely survive. They were places humans called home. The final session of the summit was unlike any in the council's history. For the first time in 50 years, they were not talking about problems. They were talking about solutions, human solutions. Elder Zixra looked at her notes. 3 days ago, she had a list of impossible challenges. Now she had a list of simple answers. All of them involved treating deadly environments like camping grounds. Let me make sure I understand, she said to Dr. Chen. You suggest we build colonies using local volcanic activity for power, native predators for security, and toxic plants for air filtration? That's the basic idea, Dr. Chen replied. Work with the environment instead of fighting it. Commander Vexthul was still struggling with the concept. And you believe settlers would actually want to live in these places? Want to? Dr. Park laughed. We'd have to hold a lottery. These worlds are amazing. Clean air, natural heating and cooling, fresh water sources, interesting wildlife. What's not to like? What's not to like? On Zerion Prime, one of the most feared worlds in the galaxy, humans wanted to know what's not to like. Ambassador Kethvar had been quiet for most of the session. His crystal body was glowing with deep thought. Dr. Chen, may I ask you something? Of course. When you first read our invitation to Zerion Prime, what did you think? Dr. Chen considered the question. Honestly, I was excited. It sounded like a great opportunity to study extreme environments. And a nice break from the office. A break from the office, Kethvar repeated. Yes, my team had been working hard on some research projects. We needed a vacation. Vacation. The entire council had been thinking of this summit as a dangerous mission that might kill them all. The humans thought of it as a vacation. How are you finding your stay here? Elder Zixra asked. Wonderful, Dr. Chen said with genuine warmth. This has been one of the most relaxing retreats we've had in years. The air is refreshing, the gravity gives you a great workout, and the geology is fascinating. Relaxing retreat, Commander Vexthul said faintly. Oh yes, very peaceful. No traffic, no crowds, beautiful natural scenery. Emma has been having the time of her life. Emma looked up from her latest creation. She had built several more colony designs and was now working on what looked like a playground, complete with slides and swings designed for 3 times normal gravity. This place is okay, Emma said, but not as cool as that camping trip to Europa last year. The council members looked at each other. Europa was one of Jupiter's moons in the human solar system. According to their files, it was covered in radiation and had an ocean beneath miles of ice. You went camping on Europa? Elder Zixra asked. Family vacation, Dr. Park explained. Great ice climbing. Emma learned to snowboard on the glaciers. The radiation levels there are pretty mild, Captain Wilson finished. Nothing a little sunscreen can't handle. Dr. Singh was packing her samples of radioactive rocks and acid rain. This has been a great trip for research, too. I can't wait to show these specimens to my students. Your students? Ambassador Kethvar asked. Graduate students in extreme environment biology. They're always looking for interesting field trip destinations. Field trip destinations. She wanted to bring student groups to Zerion Prime for educational visits. A soft alarm chimed through the dome. It was time for the human ship to depart. The summit was ending. Dr. Chen stood up and shook hands with each council member. Thank you all for a wonderful time. This has been exactly what we needed. We should be thanking you, Elder Zixra said. You have changed how we think about everything. Happy to help. If you ever need consultants for Deathworld colonization projects, just let us know. My team loves this kind of work. The humans gathered their simple belongings and headed toward the door. Emma was carrying a bag full of glowing rocks and toxic sand samples. She had made friends with 3 different predator species and had already asked if she could keep one as a pet. Dr. Chen, Commander Vexthul called after them. Before you go, do you know of any worlds that might actually challenge humans for research purposes? Dr. Chen paused and thought about it. Well, there was mention in your galactic database of a planet called Nethys 9. Something about it being quarantined as mathematically unsurvivable. That world was quarantined because the environment kills everything that touches it, Ambassador Kethvar said. The gravity is crushing, the atmosphere is pure acid, the surface temperature could melt metal, and the radiation levels are off all charts. Dr. Chen's eyes lit up with interest. Really? That sounds perfect for our next family vacation. Emma perked up. Can we go there for my birthday? We'll see, sweetheart. Maybe if you keep up your grades. The humans left the dome like they were leaving a hotel after a pleasant weekend. Through the windows, the council watched them board their ship. They were laughing and talking about their next adventure. The Deathstalker that Dr. Singh had befriended was waiting by the ship. It seemed sad to see them go. Emma gave it one last treat and a pat on the head before boarding. As the human ship lifted off through the toxic clouds, the council members sat in silence. Finally, Elder Zixra spoke. We need to reclassify everything. Everything? Commander Vexthul asked. Every threat level, every Deathworld rating, every safety protocol. We have been measuring danger by our standards, not by absolute standards. Ambassador Kethvar was already accessing the galactic database. I am looking at our current classifications. Class 5 Deathworlds are defined as environments unsurvivable for extended periods by any known species. Change it, Elder Zixra said. To what? Environments unsurvivable by any known species except humans. The database updates began immediately. Thousands of worlds that had been marked as impossible to colonize were suddenly reclassified as human-suitable. Commander Vexthul was reading reports from other worlds where humans lived. According to this, they have cities built on active fault lines and settlements in areas with regular volcanic eruptions, Elder Zixra added. They live underwater, underground, in frozen wastelands, and in radioactive zones, Ambassador Kethvar continued. For fun, Commander Vexthul finished. A message came in from the human ship. It was a thank you note from Dr. Chen, along with a proposal for establishing a tourism industry on Zerion Prime. She had included preliminary designs for adventure resorts, extreme sports facilities, and family camping areas. She was serious about turning Deathworlds into vacation destinations. More messages started arriving. Human scientists requesting permission to study other quarantined worlds. Human families asking about vacation packages to dangerous planets. Human companies wanting to discuss colonization contracts. Word was spreading through human space. The galaxy had Deathworlds that were actually safe enough for tourism. Elder Zixra put her head in her hands. What have we done? We invited humans to join the galactic community, Ambassador Kethvar said. And now we discover that we have been living in the safe part of the galaxy, and the dangerous part is where humans go to relax. Commander Vexthul was still reading reports. There is more. Apparently, humans have been exploring beyond their official borders. They have found worlds that our scouts classified as instantly lethal. Humans have summer colonies on them. Ambassador Kethvar began his final report on the summit. His crystal body glowed as he searched for the right words. Personal log. Ambassador Kethvar, he began. Summit conclusion. Successful beyond all expectations. The humans have solved our Deathworld colonization problems. They have also forced us to completely rethink our understanding of survival and adaptation. He paused, watching the human ship disappear into the toxic storm clouds. Additional note, he continued. Humans do not have death worlds. They have theme parks. A final message arrived from the human ship. Emma had sent a thank you drawing. It showed stick figures representing the council members standing around Zerion Prime. At the bottom, in a child's handwriting, were the words, "Thank you for the best vacation ever. Can't wait to come back." Elder Zixra looked at the drawing and smiled. For the first time in her life, she was looking forward to visiting a death world. After all, if it was safe enough for human children, it might even be relaxing.